Steve Kemper, UCN Live. You're the managing director of K2 Promotions, Tom Loeffler. Tom, you said it. You felt as though from the beginning, even though you're not facing King Kong or Godzilla, you feel as though Gennady Golovkin, Dominic Wade, you think this will be a sellout.
Well, it's not King Kong or Godzilla, but Dominic Wade's undefeated. That's the title of the show. And I think Gennady's at the point now, we saw that with the Rubio fight. He sells out arenas. And as long as you can put a competitive fight together, we have Chocolatito, we have a great show. We have Chocolatito as a co-feature against Arroyo. I think the fans respond to a show like this. And Gennady's popularity has just really transcended, any particular demographic. It just goes across the board. And he's come out with the mainstream popularity now.
Tom, if the odds hold the form and your guy wins, and Canelo Alvarez wins in 2 weeks, May 7th, are you a little bit alarmed or amused by some of the talk from the Golden Boy brass? I got to be honest with you. It seems to me that they're setting the stage not to fight Gennady in the fall.
It's hard to speculate what a fighter is going to do in the future. Every time someone asks me, I keep saying, we have to focus on Dominic Wade. Gennady has a fight coming up Saturday night. Canelo has a fight coming up 2 weeks later. If they don't win their fights, then there is no talk about a future fight. If they do win, then it's my job to position Gennady the best way possible to get the biggest fights. And clearly that's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin to see who's a true WBC middleweight champion.
Tom, if Canelo decides to vacate the title, would BJ Saunders in the summer, would that be a priority? And per his request, would you be willing to travel to the UK?
Well, Gennady's goal has always been to unify all the titles. That's why he has a sight set on the WBC title with his mandatory situation. But look, again, if he doesn't get through his IBF mandatory, then there's no talk about that. To answer your question, because it's been his priority, first priority is Canelo. The second priority would be BJ Saunders in the UK. And if the only way is to make that fight happen in the UK, then Gennady doesn't care where he fights, so he'll go over there. The hardest part is getting the deal done. The second part is just him getting in the ring. So we would definitely go to the UK.
Tom, speaking of that, you guys have done very vast, significant numbers in New York, in LA. It's almost unprecedented to be able to be an attraction on both sides at the same time. You have talked about Texas. Comes a point in time you guys start to break those boundaries, go to a San Antonio, go to Houston, maybe fight overseas?
Yeah, it really depends on the opponent. This fight worked out great at the Forum. The Forum's been very supportive. MSG's been very supportive. But if you have a fighter like Elzurdo Ramirez, Bob reached out to me, see if we would, if Gennady was interested in that fight. That would be a perfect fight in Texas. Even the fight with Canelo would be a great fight in Cowboy Stadium. Jerry Jones invited us down to the stadium last year, and Gennady loved it. So Texas would definitely be on the agenda for the future, because strategically he's got a lot of. The reception he had in San Antonio was tremendous, and also when we went to the Cowboys game, it's really impressive the fan reception that he gets in Texas.
Tom Loeffler, managing director of K2 Promotions, joins us right now. Tom, the Jordan brand deal finally got announced. You have Takade, and I think Gennady needs to work on the pronunciation. Just follow the beer. Just quick note there. Honestly, did you think all this would come so soon, so rapidly? We're only basically 3-4 years into this process.
Well, it's hard to tell with the sponsors. I knew on Gennady's boxing career, as long as he had the opportunity, he'd be able to show his talent in the ring. We had the Apple Watch commercial. That was, we've been really pitching him to the global brands. Takati is on board, and with Jordan, we worked on Jordan for a long time, over a year. So we're happy to finally announce that deal came to fruition. And he's looking forward to being part of the Jordan family and all the support that they would give him, because he really looks at them as like the premium quality athletic wear. So it's, you could look at it two ways, Steve. You could look at it as it's gone quickly, because he's gone from basically 0 to 100 miles an hour here in the United States. But at the same time, if he had a Chavez fight, a Froch fight, if he had had one of the big names earlier when we were trying to make those fights like 2 years ago, then it would have been even a faster, rise if he had been as successful against those opponents. But now, I mean, look at if everything goes the right way with Dominic Wade and then the Canelo fight. Like I said, now you can say it's the biggest fight in boxing, and that's a huge statement.
Going back to the situation with Canelo, I've noticed this week specifically, as Gennady is asked about that situation, he doesn't seem to be playing Mr. Nice Guy anymore. Do you sense with your fighter, and again, I know that you say you're focused on one fight at a time, as he hears this talk and he's asked these questions, do you sense growing impatience from Gennady?
Well, we've been very patient. He wanted to fight Sergio Martinez originally when he had the WC title. Then Sergio opted to fight Miguel Cotto. And Miguel Cotto opted to fight Daniel Gil. Daniel Gil. And then Canelo. And it seemed like every time the weight kept coming down. So, at some point, the WC asked us to allow that Canelo and Cotto fight to happen. But at some point, if you're the mandatory challenger, look, Dominic Wade just got named the mandatory challenger, and Gennady's fighting him now in his in the first fight. So, he understands his responsibilities as a champion, and he expects the other champions to follow the same type of responsibilities. And that's really the only way he can prove who's the best middleweight, is if he can fight the other champions.
Tom, Eric Gomez was quoted as saying that Canelo is not a real middleweight, even though technically he is fighting at 155, which is a middleweight. He has stated that maybe there needs to be a compromise in terms of a catch weight. Is that something you will be amenable to in the negotiating process?
Well, the way we look at it is, if you have two middleweight champions fighting each other, and it's a unification fight, it's according to the WC rules. The WC rules clearly say that its middleweight limit is 160 pounds. Now, if there was a different situation, a different fighter, then you can always negotiate something like that. But, our position would be, and again, this is all kind of premature, but the position that Gennady has is that he wants to fight at the middleweight limit. Now, if someone comes below that, then that's fine. But if you're a middleweight champion, then you should be fighting at the middleweight limit.
All right, there it is. Tom Loeffler, Managing Director of K2 Promotions. This is Steve Kim for UCN Live.